Welcome back, Weekend Warriors. Thanks for joining us for Weekendology episode number 39. This is the only podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. For everything related to all the best topics from music, movies, sports, food, and more, we've got you covered. I'm your host, Will Deichley, joined alongside my best buddy, Aaron Berg. What's going on, Aaron?
Hey there.
Hey, we're back again. Back for another episode.
Yeah, navigating quarantine.
Navigating quarantine. I think that's the probably the subtitle of all of our episodes is Weekendology, Navigating Quarantine.
I love it. You got to say it like that now because you can't, challenging times and those kind of intros are old now. People got tired of those. So
the
now
new normal is
yeah,
Weekendology, Navigating Quarantine. So that would be, I'll start the episode intros off like that then.
As we navigate this quarantine.
As we navigate this quarantine, we want to ensure to all our listeners that safety is our top priority. Did you like that?
It sounds like an insurance ad read.
Well,
do we have an insurance sponsor now?
I don't know. Maybe if Liberty Mutual or Progressive want to sponsor us, then
okay. I was going to start with the General, but I'll take those.
Oh, the General. Oh, that's like top tier right there.
Get Shaq on here?
Yeah, let's do that then. Shout out to General if they want to sponsor us. We want to thank all of our returning listeners for joining us again this week. And if you're new to the show, welcome. This show is all about changing, improving, and making things better as we cover all the best topics from around the pop culture and the sports world. This episode is in collaboration with the Big Red World and Colin Kessler. They're a popular podcasting network out of St. Louis with popular podcasts such as The House That Rick Built and Six Drunk, One Sober. I feel like that's a tongue twister every time I say that. Popular podcast network.
It reminds me of Ron Burgundy.
Ow, now, brown cow. Yeah. The cow jumped over the moon.
Popular podcast. Popular podcast. That's what Will does right before we record.
Exactly.
Just sits here. Popular podcast. Okay,
popular podcast. Yeah. Go check them out on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org.
Also, I feel like that's one right in and of itself. Big Red World.
Big Red World.
Yeah.
Big Wed World.
Elmer Fudd.
Big Red World.
Big Wed World.
Yeah, that's it. Also, don't be shy. Go ahead and check us out on Twitter. We've got 2 new podcasts for you guys to listen to. Weekendology Sports is dedicated to all sports things, and Weekendology Entertainment is dedicated to all things music, movies, video games, film, whatever it is. You can follow Weekendology Sports at WKNDOLOGY SPORTS. That's Weekendology Sports, as I made that joke last week. And
it's like the weekend.
Yeah, just without the E's then.
Yeah.
It's just Weekendology. And then follow Weekendology Entertainment at Weekendology ENT. That's pretty easy then. Don't forget to follow our main Twitter, though, at Weekendology Pod, and wherever you listen to podcasts. We've got a Facebook page as well. We're dropping all of our latest episodes there. We're interacting with anybody who would like to comment. So please don't be shy. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm not a Facebook person because I'm not a boomer. So how's that doing lately?
Pretty good. I think we're getting some good interaction and engagement.
The Karens are on board.
The Karens?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess because Facebook's full of Karens then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the boomers.
I haven't heard any comments from Karens, but we want to hear.
That's how you know we're doing the job right when we get some comments. So
exactly.
Yeah. Karens, hit us up.
Check us out on Facebook.
Let us know what you think.
We want to hear all of your rants and your crazy, ridiculous,
Ask to speak to a manager.
Exactly. And then I can say, I am the manager and totally, throw you off then. So I did that in retail once where I worked at Cole Haan. This lady was getting very irate.
Shout out. Cole Haan.
Exactly.
Great shoes.
And she's like, now look, I'm gonna have to ask to speak to your manager. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, man, but I am the manager. So and she was like, wait, what?
I run this shoe store.
She was totally taken aback, and she still proceeded to yell, and we gave her a refund.
She spoke to the manager.
She spoke to the manager, and we gave her a refund anyway.
What could you possibly be mad at a shoe store?
Because she tried to buy shoes, and she came back and saw the same shoes that were marked down for a Labor Day sale or something. She's like, I'd like to return these or get extra money off. And we're like,
get my $10 off.
You purchased them before the sale, and they were not within 30 days, so we didn't accept the full refund. So we can give you cash back or store credit, or we can just do a standard refund.
Yeah,
and it's she was getting all pissed about that. So
yeah, wow,
absolutely ridiculous. Share us your crazy stories in retail if you want on our Facebook. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate us 5 stars. Click the little purple icon. Really helps us get noticed as well. And we have lots of great other episodes in our catalog, too. Our last episode where we talk about the future of college sports and how they can return post-pandemic. There's some really good stories and changes we like to see there, especially with campuses or schools returning in about, 6 weeks now? 5 weeks?
Yeah, and how about the updates since that episode? I mean, in 1 week, we have, I want to say 3 or 4 conferences now that won't be playing sports in the fall.
Yeah. Which other conferences? Just update everybody.
Gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. It's like the MEAC was one. I mean, like real low level. Patriot League, which that was obviously the Ivy League was the one we announced. And then, Big Ten announced that they were doing, and Pac-12 are just doing conference play only.
Wow, those are big conferences.
So yeah, that was the first shoe to drop in the Power 5. So,
well,
I mean, that to me, that's the equivalent of basically not. I mean, if you're just going to do conference play only, the writing's kind of on the wall. I don't think there's going to be fall college athletics.
There will be quite the challenge. They face quite an uphill battle for that. So go check that episode out. There's lots of great stuff in there, and I really like it. It's great conversation topics to get the weekend started. So
yeah, it's definitely could do a part 2 on that one because it's developing.
We'll probably do like an update episode as it comes closer to the fall with it, and see how what really has changed within the college sports area. So
yeah, I like how the NCAA said they'll have a decision by the end of July. It's like
sure.
That's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you have 14 days NCAA, so get going. Aaron, guess who this week's sponsor is by?
Razorfish?
No, Lionfish. You were close. Razorfish is a media agency. But
still
this
in work
week
mode.
Is sponsored by Lionfish Promotions. So if you or your business are in need of some cool swag to give out to employees, clients, or even build your brand of your business, Lionfish Promotions has you covered. They offer literally every kind of item from pens, notebooks, cups, mugs, t-shirts, and more to be branded with your own personal logo. And with the influx of coronavirus cases, they've got PPE equipment covered for you with masks, gloves, and more. So they have a 24-hour ship time. Check them out at lionfishpromotions.com. Be sure to use the code WEEKEND to get 10% off of your first purchase. And let them know that we sent you because we keep the lights on. I make that joke every week. I've got to come up with a bit different
lights
joke
are on,
now.
so it's not looking too good.
Well, we have lots of natural light coming into the studios this week, Aaron.
Yeah, we're like Amish people. We got to record before the sun goes down.
It's 500 degrees outside as we're currently getting baked alive in the Texas summer heat. And,
baked alive in the air conditioning.
And I've been inside for the last 96 hours straight, so
wow.
I'm dying. It's terrible. I can't go outside because I'll melt, and I can't stay inside because I get super bored. So there we go. That's how we're at.
Lose-lose situation.
It's a lose-lose. But anything new with you lately, Aaron? You what's new with your week? Anything?
Me? No. Is there new with anyone's week?
I don't know.
Anything
I guess
new?
You have to make the week the best you can make it. I don't know.
Wow.
That's
Tony Robbins.
That could be
stuff
that's
right
Tony Robbins right there. Made it up right on the spot too. So
no, just same old, just podcast life.
Yeah, trying to build that brand up. #grind life.
Yep,
Weekendology podcast.
Just praying that like sports will start. Just I mean, hey, UFC's on, so I'm happy about that.
That's all that matters.
Watch a lot of UFC
watching
now.
Dana White's really bald head. And
as much as I hate Dana White, I got to give it up to him. Like, he just kept it rolling, and it's paid off. Fight Island's a success. Still a good product to watch. I mean, fun, new upcoming fighters to watch. It's good. I'm glad we at least have.
You sound so excited about it too. So
I mean,
it's good. Yeah, it's fine.
It's pretty sweet, I guess.
So okay.
I mean, it's just there's still a void though because I'm just scared football's not going to come back.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. So.
Wow. Well, okay, come on. Let's keep some faith here.
Well, I hope it does. That's the realistically, I don't think it can.
It's going to be weird with a fall with no football.
It's been a weird year already, man.
I
spent the week getting into another Twitter war.
Did you?
With my fellow fine soccer community that I lovingly support, which is a direct influence on what this episode is about today. I posted on a comment because the Premier League is still going on, and
I always love how you say that. Premier League.
Premier League.
Premier League.
What do you want? How do you want me to say it? The Premier League?
Yeah, that's how Americans say it.
Premier League. Well, it's Premier.
Premier.
Now it sounds weird.
Premier.
It's the Premier League.
The Premier League.
Whatever it's called.
I was just saying, I love how you say it.
I just made a comment. I was like, yeah, Liverpool's a really bad team on paper, but they're a really good team on the field. And I just got absolutely lambasted in the comments below.
Don't talk about the champs like that.
Apparently you can't talk about anything, which further influenced our topic for today's episode. And with a return to live sports just a few weeks away, and just with some already underway, we thought we'd take a look and rank in which of the worst sports toxic cultures in the world. So what are your worst sporting experiences, Aaron?
Oh, man. I mean, so being from Minnesota, I'm gonna start it off. My Liverpool, the Green Bay Packers. And to me, that's just the epitome of just this toxicity in sports, with sports fans, people taking sports way too seriously. I mean, as much as I love sports and my world, my at least entertainment side of my world revolves around sports, I realize it's just a game. It's just for fun. It's a business, first of all. And just to not take it too seriously, I don't let it ruin your day and control your life. And I fans like Packer fans, I'll start there, and you could say the Cowboys too, being in Dallas.
Oh, God.
But there are several fan bases though, and I just think it's sad because they kind of ruin it, and I think that's the real problem that leagues have on their hands, and now especially with all that's going on in the world, people turning to social media more, and already being mad that sports aren't around. I think we're seeing more people wanting to do that, like you said, what happened to you, where you throw out your opinion on social media because it's essentially what it's for, and then people just eviscerate you based on your opinion because they're sitting around bored and they have nothing else to do or think about, and they're mad that sports aren't around, and so they're turning it into something it shouldn't be turned into. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. And I want to preface this by just saying we're not trying to totally discredit all these sports cultures and the fan bases and everything. But
yeah, right. I'm not just we don't want to be biased.
It's a trend that I've noticed, especially just within the soccer community, fans and everything, and then with other sports fans community, is that there's just such a level of hatred and toxicity that exists within some of it that we want to rank which are the worst fan bases in sports, and go share our worst stories ever. So
and then say why is it that way, and how can we pull back a little bit from that and kind of change that culture? Because if it keeps going on, I mean, it's going to get bad, and I think it can ruin sports if it crosses that line.
I think so too.
I mean, I think that culture of the rivalry culture is great for sports, and I think that is what props it up. I mean, there's a reason why people care so much about Premier League,
the Premier League,
college football, or the NFL, or just these certain sports with huge rivalries, old rivalries. It makes it fun. It brings up discussion. It brings up debate. That's why people love watching, the stupid Skip Bayless shows and all that, because it's debate and it's fun and it's hypotheticals and it's passion. It brings out that passion. But you cross that line into taking it personally, it ruins it, and that's what I think, culture-wise, we need to get away from.
Well, we scoured the web for all of our some worst stories we could come up with based off petty arguments or just terrible things to happen within cultures of fans themselves, and we've come across a couple of pretty good ones. So, Aaron, you told me about this story actually. There was this Alabama football super fan who infamously poisoned an Auburn oak tree forest or something, or
it was
that it?
It was a very very old. That sounds like another Anchorman. Very old ship. No, it's a very old historic tree on campus, And he went,
so it was just one tree then. It wasn't like a forest or multiple trees.
Right. It was a certain tree that like they meet at.
Okay.
At Auburn. I hope I'm getting this right.
I think it was. It was the famed Toomer's Corner oak tree.
Yes, there you go.
At Auburn.
You got it.
Yes.
It was that one. Yes.
Quick research there. So.
Speaking of fan bases, I didn't want Auburn people lighting me up for saying, there's multiple trees.
You're going to get lit up in the comments, Aaron.
I've never been to Alabama, so I just watched this documentary about it. And the guy just had no shame. I mean, he was this lifelong Alabama fan. Typical. Didn't even go to Alabama. So, as the kids say, T-shirt fan. And he was just so into Alabama football that, when the Iron Bowl came along, he went and he poisoned the tree for Auburn. And it's just things like that where, it's a felony.
Yeah.
And I just, come on. Like, let these schools have these traditions. And, okay, for example, I'm a huge Arizona State fan. Love the Sun Devils. I don't like University of Arizona. Why? Because they're the rivalry, and because if you like the one school, you can't like the other school. That's just how it goes. So I'm fine with if you're a Bama fan and you hate Auburn, that's great. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
It's historic, but I say hate in a fun sort of way. I have a friend of mine who went to U of A. It was always a fun time when I lived in Arizona. We'd harass each other about it. Territorial Cup would come around. My team's better, your team's worse, blah, blah, blah. Saying you hate the schools. But it was never personal. I never personally attacked him. And it was fun. And it drove that passion and made watching the game fun.
There's a difference between having passion with the sport or the culture itself.
And the sport or the team shouldn't be your identity. That's the thing I think where it crosses the line too is the fanship becomes these people's identity. And it's like, come on, man. Like, especially for pro sports, I think this is really weird. Unless you worked for the team, that should not. I understand to an extent why college sports has it because maybe you went to the school.
I feel like college sports has it worse than like pro sports though. Like they're so like I guess super ingrained in like the religion of that sport.
And that's where I think if you went to the school, I understand it a little bit more because you went to the games. Maybe you donated to the school. You lived there for 4 years.
Right.
You gave them your time and money. So I understand that to an extent. Pro sports, especially, this, working in sports, it fascinates me, and I really got this attitude when I worked in major league sports, and minor league sports for that matter, just seeing it and thinking, okay, this is totally a business, and people are feeding into a business system, and taking it on as their identity and treating it like something it's not. It's there for fun. It's there to enjoy watching the sport be played, not taking it personally of, you're rooting for this team, you're, this or that and the other thing. It's like it doesn't need to get to that level.
There's obviously fans who are going to take things way too far, which is what this kind of segment is about. And that dude's name was Harvey Updike, who poisoned the tree.
Sounds like a Bama fan.
Typical Bama fan.
He named his kids like Bama and Bear and all these Alabama things too.
Nick Saban,
probably.
This is Nick and this is Saban.
Wouldn't doubt it.
It's one thing to poison a tree, but it's another thing when people actually get hurt or worse, get killed. And there's been multiple instances of fans getting killed over altercations in parking lots. There was the San Francisco Giants fan who got killed over like a fight in the parking lot or something.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium.
At the Dodger Stadium, yeah. That was that's obviously terrible.
Right.
And then there's back in '94, there was a Colombian soccer player during the '94 World Cup. His name is Andres Escobar. He scored an own goal in the '94 Cup, knocked Colombia out of the tournament. Well, apparently some sort of drug cartel had some money on the game. Clearly not related to drugs, but
funny his name is Escobar.
Exactly. It was it's very fishy. But they killed the player because he made an own goal, and they lost money on the match that they bet on or something. So it's like these are way extreme instances, but that's taking it very much too far for it. So,
I would say so.
Yes. But there's other terrible instances where just fan bases are just insufferable in and of themselves as well. doesn't have to be murdering people or poisoning trees or something. It's just the very nature of how a majority of the fans
their attitudes towards it.
Their attitudes are very, very bad. So I've got a list and Aaron's got a list. So we're gonna go through and compare our lists and see who is the most insufferable sports teams.
I love it.
Aaron's very excited for this. Do you want to go first or should I go first?
No, you go first. I want to hear your Liverpool
I want to go
rant.
first. Do you want to go one by one or all at the same time?
You got top 5?
Yeah, I've got a top 5.
You do 5, I'll do 5.
All right, I'll do top 5. All right, so
you gotta say in specific details why, because if you just say like Liverpool or whatever, and you don't explain, I mean, people are gonna.
I'll explain. So first on my list is the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, number 1.
Yes.
Wow.
Cubs fans have always been particularly annoying and just like I can't stand them. I mean, I get it. They've been so bad for so long up until the World Series when it was 2016.
Yeah.
That I get it. You mistake optimism for delusion. But every year they say it's our year. Every single year, it's like we're gonna win the I almost said Stanley Cup, the World Series. It's our year, and I'm like, man, give it up. Like you guys haven't been a playoff contender in 100 years, and have only had a decent amount of seasons since you guys
lovable losers.
Exactly, and even after 2016 when they won this World Series, they think they're God's greatest gift. And I mean, it's impossible talking to a Cubs fan, in my opinion, because they're just gonna be like, "Well, no, you're wrong. Our player or our pitching, our farm system is so much better, and it's gonna be amazing, and we're gonna win. We're gonna win this year." And I'm just like, God,
I always love that when you can tell too that people don't watch the sport as a whole. They don't watch other teams; they just watch their team.
Exactly,
and then they want to tell you why their team's better than all the other teams. Well, you don't know about the other teams, so why would I listen to you? And you're extremely biased because you watch one team.
I don't know. I just think because I'm a Cardinals fan, so obviously I'm a little bit biased in that regard. But I mean, even if I was just like a casual baseball fan,
the thing I hate about the Cubs fan base, especially, is Cubs Cards big rivalry. Their like hatred of the Cardinals is because they say that Cards fans are annoying because they say, "Oh, best team in, or what do they always say?
Best,
the Cardinal
best fans
way.
Of baseball.
Yeah, best fans of baseball. The Cardinal way. They always talk
Cardinals
about
fans are pretty arrogant too. So,
but every fan base is really either you don't have a fan base, or like people don't care about you, or you can get annoying. I think it's kind of one or two. But then there's that third where they take it to the extreme. It gets into like the third tier and the fifth gear where it's like, oh come on, like Cubs. Yeah. I would say. They're definitely up there.
They have to be. It's so insufferably annoying.
And I think a lot of it stems from that's kind of a Chicago attitude. They're just more aggressive. We're right. Just kind of that big city attitude. And the team's been there forever. A lot of history. And then I think too, just that not winning. You see it with the Red Sox too. That years and years and years of not winning builds animosity,
hatred,
and builds that. They like half owned it. They half owned, we're the lovable losers, but then they wanted to have an excuse and they wanted to, almost deny it and get angry about it. And it's like, just own that your team's bad.
I will give
so
Cubs
long.
fans this though; they do have one of the best stadiums in baseball, though.
Cool experience,
very
definitely.
very great experience. I'll give them that. Cubs fans, they suck.
See, and Cubs fans also, they won't say Busch Stadium's good.
No.
That's the thing. They'll go to Busch Stadium and desecrate it by wearing their gear when it's not even a Cubs game and chant, "Let's go Cubbies."
It's like a Cardinals Braves game or something, and be like, "Let's go Cubs." But like, why would you do that?
And I love it too when they live in St. Louis and then they're like, "Well, Chicago's a better city and the Cubs are better," and blah blah. Why do you live there then? Like, you obviously got a job in St. Louis, so you can't rip on the city too much.
Second on my list, we're staying in the Windy City. It's got to be the Chicago Blackhawks. Obviously, this is going to be a big rivalry for me because I'm a big Blues fan, but I would love to talk to a quote-unquote Chicago Blackhawks fan before 2010.
Yes, and I would say, too, to that credit, became the worst fan base after 2010. Before 2010,
I agree.
Fine.
They have lots of history.
Fan base.
Yeah, they've got great culture. They've got great history as a team. Their fan base after 2010 turned went from, okay, we're a loyal fan base to we're a bandwagon fan base who doesn't pay much attention to hockey.
It was like a southern hockey market. It was weird.
It was kind of, yeah.
That's like what you see. I mean, it's what you see with the LA Kings.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird to have that happen in a city like Chicago where hockey should be pretty popular. I mean, kids play hockey there. There's ice.
It should be, but I remember I asked a Hawks fan, quote unquote, who's your favorite player? And I was like, please don't name anybody named Patrick Kane. And they said, Taves. Well, there's Patrick Kane and Patrick Kane's really good.
He couldn't name Jonathan Taves.
Nobody could. They could not name anybody other than Patrick Kane.
Okay,
and
wow.
I'm just like, okay, so when did you start becoming a supporter of the Hawks? And he's like, well, I was like, 2009. I was like, was it the 2009, 2010 season? He's like, well, I mean, I was a fan before that. I was like, so it was then. So, and I feel like that's like the majority of all of
my favorite is and I loved when I lived in St. Louis to do this. You see a guy with a Hawks jersey, and I have like random 90s player hockey knowledge just from like playing video games. I loved going up to people and asking them who their favorite player was, and then I would say like, oh, mine's Tony Amani, or mine's Jocelyn Thibault.
Yeah, like a really deep cut or something.
Yeah, I mean, and those aren't even like deep. Jocelyn Thibault's a goalie. Like those aren't even like deep cuts. They weren't super random, but it was like when they were bad, so people don't watch them. But it was just so funny to like, Eric Daze, just name off these players.
I remember Eric Daze, yeah.
And then, and it's just like, it's so funny because it's like, oh, but you're a fan, right?
Exactly.
Like, to me, I'm going to say, if you're going to call yourself a fan, now, here's my opinion on this, and I get crap for this all the time, so I'm going to lay this out now. People hate that I have multiple sports teams that I'm a fan of.
You can have multiple teams that you support.
Yes. To me, thank you. Because to me, there's at least 30 teams in each of these sports. 32 teams. If I pick two, and they're not rivals, and they don't play each other, like, who
There's
cares?
nothing wrong with that, dude. I'm a big Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
But also I like Real Madrid when Cristiano Ronaldo was playing on there, and I like their team as a whole. I think they have a good system.
Blackhawks fans are gonna say like, oh, I like him because of Ronaldo.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like a team because of a player, but I can also like a team because of their coaching and like how they run the system.
You can like a team for whatever reason you want.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
But
it's your choice.
Totally just destroyed on Facebook one. I remember this very distinctly. It was from another United fan. He searched down my likes history in my Facebook and like the pages that I follow, and he's like, well, clearly you're not a fan of United because you were a fan of Madrid. I'm like, well, one, those are two separate leagues and two separate countries,
right?
So I can be fans of both. And two, why are you questioning my fandom of United just because I support or like Madrid too?
Yeah,
it's a Facebook page too. It's not like I'm feverishly supporting them and like going to their like jerseys and
I think too that's the difference where it's like
that's what I would say is a toxic fan right there.
Yeah, that you're gonna call out someone, that you're gonna get mad at them, that you're going to like take time out of your day to go look at
He went
likes.
through and looked through. I have like
500
likes or for pages on Facebook or whatever for different sports teams, and he literally searched through all of them, picked out one, and was like, "Hey, man." He even found a post of something that I posted about Madrid too. I was like, "Man, this man has nothing better to do with his time than to start trying to troll me or incite a reaction."
And I think that's the thing too, to troll people for who they like. It's funny when you're like, giving someone grief because it's like I like the Patriots. Everyone always loves to rip on me for liking the Patriots.
That's tough for me.
Which I get it. Go ahead. I don't care.
Now Tom Brady's gone, I hate them just a smidge less.
Oh, good. Okay. See,
I still hate him.
I kind of like it though, because like I can explain to people, and I love too, especially like Boston people, when they'll give me crap because they're like, well, you're not from Boston, like blah blah. And then again, I'll throw out these like old like Ben Coates, because that's when I started following the Patriots as a little kid. I didn't know any better. I picked a team, and I picked a guy that I liked. Terry Glenn, guys way back in the day, and it's like. Then they're like, oh, whoa, okay, wait, you maybe are a fan.
That's respectable then. So, like, same with me being because Manchester United fans are quote unquote glory hunters, as they
sure,
like
they're like the Yankees.
Yeah, but when they say, "Oh, well, you're just a fan of like when Ronaldo and Rooney and stuff were there," I'm like, yeah, those were our golden days, but also like, what about Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, or back in the days of Sir Matt Busby, or
wow, you got a Sir on your team.
Exactly. Ooh. So like I mean I like the culture, and like I can name off other players who are
you have
way back in the day, and they're like, oh, well, you actually know the team. I'm like, yeah, I'm not just gonna blindly support a team I know nothing about. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Like what the point is to win. So like, what, I'm not supposed to root for a winner? Like,
exactly.
I'm sorry that my team's better than yours. Like.
Well, anyway, back to the Blackhawks. Yeah, they're probably a second on my list. They have a very rude fan base. They're kind of belligerent, and they don't really hold a conversation in hockey terms. They just hold a conversation in, we're better than you, get over it. I'm gonna lambast you or something.
The proof too is they literally went from last in attendance to first in attendance after the year they won the cup.
Exactly. So
that's the proof right there.
You go. Proof's in the pudding. Let's see. Third on my list, I have to say Liverpool, because that's a huge rival of United. I
know nothing about that. So.
It's kind of like Red Sox, Yankees, or Bears, Packers. You're just inherently supposed to hate Liverpool fans, and they are generally very insufferable to the point of they also think that they're God's greatest gift. I mean, yeah, they've been good the last couple of years, which is a pain for me to see. But they generally think that everybody else should like be beneath them when it comes to the hierarchy of soccer teams. And I've had my fair share of altercations with Liverpool fans. And
man, are you gonna debate LeBron on that?
LeBron's not even a Liverpool fan. He doesn't even know where Liverpool is. Okay. The man's just like, oh, red? Oh,
man, I drink wine from
Liverpool. That's where the Beatles are from. I'm going to invest in the team now.
Do you think he's been there by now?
Probably not. He doesn't even know where it is. So, yeah, Liverpool's pretty bad.
Why would he pick that?
That's what I don't know. We should have picked like a different team.
So random.
Any other team would have been fine. I would have even given him a pass on Manchester City or something.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I think that's what I find crazy is, you hate, as a United fan, you hate Liverpool more than Manchester City.
Yeah,
you think you'd hate Manchester City more because
the rivalry goes back longer than what we have with City.
Yeah.
Manchester City fans are just very plastic and fake, and they're also very bandwagon fans.
Right.
They also never sell out a stadium, even in like their top tier games.
So it's kind of like the Yankees Mets, how like that's a rivalry, but like it's not as big as the Yankees Red Sox.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, we still hate City because they're
right.
Yeah, they
crosstown.
Yeah, they suck. So,
is it like a certain part of the city that you decide who to root for? Does that matter? Is it like Cubs,
I'm not from
White Sox,
Manchester, so I don't know how.
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not. Shall I start talking in a British accent?
You got me with Premier, so I was thrown off. I'm like, wait.
I say Premier differently, and now everybody loses their minds. I don't know how the distinction is run. I think it's.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like Lakers, Clippers. You just pick one.
I guess. I'm sure it's probably like if you live closer to the north or the south, then you choose one or the other. But. Let's see. Back on my list, Dallas Cowboys obviously has to be up there as one of the worst fans. They are always pining for the varsity years back in the 90s.
Oh, God, yes.
They're a huge 90s bandwagon fan.
Dude, I was listening to radio yesterday. I never listen to sports talk radio.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Oh, I just, I was like, I'm going to check this out and see what they're talking about. Dude.
I'm going to check it out.
I've never heard and I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't really care about them. They're whatever. There's a lot more football teams that I don't care for. But like, oh my God, I've never heard a team talk about the 90s. They still talk about Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
This is stuff from when we were born, man. You gotta move on.
It's time to let it go.
Like,
they're the self-anointed America's team is the most narcissistic and just selfish thing I've ever heard and seen. And
I mean, that I won't hold to him though, because it's branding, and that
it's just
worked
like,
though.
Come on, like get over yourselves. And the Cowboys are not even good. They're not even good.
They're decent at least.
If they were like a Super Bowl contender or like NFC like championship caliber every year, then I would give them a little bit more credit. Like, yeah, you guys are living up to your braggadocious behavior. But they're not even good. All right.
I will say the thing that bugs me the most about Cowboys fans, they're so biased towards who's on their team. Des Bryant. They would defend him up and down. And then the minute he left, oh, yeah, we don't like him, blah, blah, blah. And it's like they do this with Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott, great player. Love him as a player. As a person, he doesn't seem like a great guy. He makes really stupid choices off the field, super immature, and they will just keep defending him. Mm-hmm. They did this with Michael Irvin.
Exactly.
They let Michael Irvin just do coke like the night before and just roll into practice. And
exactly.
I read the book Boys Will Be Boys about the 90s Cowboys.
Oh, that's a good book, yeah.
Have you read it?
I've read I haven't read it, but
it's a good book.
I've heard it's a great book. I'd like to say that I've read it.
You played it off well.
Yes, I did.
Well, so there's a story, he got into a fight with a teammate and he grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed the guy in the neck.
I do know the stories from the book, so yeah.
And we're going to defend that? Come
Dallas
on,
fans
man.
aren't even from Dallas either. Like a lot of Dallas is from transplants anyway.
Right.
So a lot of Cowboys fans are like, "Oh, I'm from, I don't know,
but
LA I'm from San Antonio or something."
Well, at least they're from Texas though. It's not like Arizona where they're from
that's true.
Some other city, but yeah, it's a lot of biasness there.
So those are like my top 3 or 4 honorable mentions. Red Sox are in there as well. I have I just really don't like any Boston fans. I think they're very conceited, and
Dave Portnoy is the number one example of a Boston fan.
They're just super annoying. I'm just like, man, shut up, please. Just chill out. It's gonna be fine. They just sound like they're having like an anxiety attack every time that they talk. It's like, man, stop. Manchester City was up there. Obviously, the Boston Celtics. I have to put the Philadelphia Eagles in there, and I know there's all
Philadelphia teams. They're just like Boston.
Philly teams are pretty annoying. The city of brotherly love, not very welcoming to certain sports teams, and like their fans are just not very good. Like they'll throw trash onto the field too. They'll start muttering,
boo their own players.
Yeah, boo their own players. They'll throw racist chants sometimes at them, and it's like, man, you guys gotta just chill out here. Like, it's just a sports team. And obviously the Packers are on there too, because I don't know, Packers fans just seem very, I don't know, meh. Not a very good example, but
well, I'll take.
You just don't like it.
I'll take that one. I'll tell you why the Packer fans are terrible and the worst fan base in the NFL.
Oh, worse than the
fan
Cowboys base in the NFL.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the deal.
Hit me with some knowledge, Aaron.
I'm from Minnesota. I'm not a Vikings fan, okay? I'm very neutral on the Vikings. They're fine, whatever. Do I think their fans are annoying? Sure, yeah, they kind of are. However, Packers fans, you will get people barely from Wisconsin. They're from Hudson, right across the river, and they're just going to own. They've never been to Green Bay. They've never been to Eastern Wisconsin, and they're just going to own the Packers. Love the Packers, and all about the Packers. And Lombardi. Talk about
Vince Lombardi.
Talk about can't
we won
move
the first Super Bowl.
Yup.
Jeez.
They can't move on. That's all they want to talk about is Brett Favre, who they treated like crap after they left.
Yeah, they booed him.
Yeah.
For leaving.
But when he was on the team, they were just all about him.
Yeah.
So that right there, to me, when you support a guy so much and then he leaves your team and you don't treat him properly and you wait to retire his number, you don't honor him right away, to me that just shows how terrible of a fan base that is. I mean, you have to support your players. If they've been on your team and they gave everything they had to you, you always support them no matter what. And yeah, so I would say the Packers, to me, number one. They, again, same with the Cubs mentality. Even when they're bad, they'll try to defend themselves, and they won't admit when they're bad.
Yeah.
They're just toxic, and they'll want to go after everybody. They also want to have a rivalry with your Vikings. They want to have a rivalry with the Bears. It's like you got to pick one who you hate, and they want to just hate all these teams because they want to act like they're, and just that mindset too of being like the only small town, Green Bay.
So who are your worst or most insufferable
teams?
That's
my number one.
All right, Packers are number one then.
Yeah, these are all very close. I'm gonna have a hard time putting it into an order.
Put it the ones out that we haven't talked about.
I'm not gonna put it into order. I'm just gonna
just go for it. Yeah,
rattle it off. New York Knicks.
Yeah, I'd say the Knicks fans are pretty bad too.
Spike Lee is there. You go.
I would say Knicks fans they don't really have anything to cheer about because they've been bad for so long, though. And I feel like the last good season they had was maybe with like Melo or something. Like I don't know.
I wouldn't even call that good.
Yeah,
maybe I'd say Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
I'd say 99 when they went to the
Ewing
finals.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I mean, talk about a fan base. I get it. You all hate James Dolan. Whatever.
I think it's just because they live in New York, because like all New Yorkers are just super high strung and just like, oh my God, we have so many sports teams to support, but the Knicks are a cultural phenomenon.
I think with them, it's also they have kind of that celebrity thing going on where you get a bunch of bandwagon celebrities mixed in with these like overly passionate, want to and they'll rip on the team, and that's the thing. It's either with a bad fan base and this toxic attitude, I think you're either going to get a fan base like the Cubs where you're not going to deny when they're bad and you're going to want to defend your team, or you're going to rip your team to shreds too much to the point where you're basically running your players out of the city. New York does that. Knicks specifically, to me, they really do that. They will run the players out of the city, make them not want to play for the team. And then they want to blame James Dolan. They want to blame the coaches. They want to blame these other people. And it's like, okay, you're creating that culture that a player wouldn't want to play in. That's going to make it tough to recruit players.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
I'm going to say the Knicks. Staying in basketball, Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers.
Brutal.
Lakers are pretty bad too.
Again, can't move on. Wanted to talk about Shaq and Kobe forever. Again,
now they got LeBron and AD now.
Right, now they're contenders. And a lot of it, I will say, is the media. Like, they bug me with it. Because
they're the Lakers. They're like one of the most highly scrutinized and like focused on
I just think the Lakers
ever.
have such bandwagon fans. They're just so, they want to be the sexy team when they're good. And then once they're bad, we saw it in the mid-2000s when they got bad. No one talked about them. And recently, even right before they got LeBron, no one talked about them. Their fans were nowhere to be seen.
Everyone talks about Shaq and Kobe, but I talk about Rick Fox, man. Rick Fox was the GOAT back then.
Don't you love how people thought he was dead?
Yeah.
In the Kobe, there was like this rumor for a day. Everyone's like, Rick Fox died. Then he's like, no, I'm still alive. I wasn't on the helicopter, guys. What a crazy rumor.
That was a bad one. But
although I hate Rick Fox because he punched my boy Doug Christie back. Ooh. Well, no, he got punched by Doug Christie. Okay. He just pushed his face. You're like, come on, Rick Fox.
Rick Fox was the man.
Can't mess with Doug Christie like that.
But, who else is on your list?
Let's see here. I got also Alabama.
Oh, Bama fans suck.
Just terrible. Again,
I don't watch a lot of college football or involved in that area, but from the people that I've been involved with, like around Bama, it's
brutal.
Pretty bad.
90% of them didn't go to the school. I get it. I'm an ASU fan. I didn't go to the school.
They're the Roll Tide,
but
right?
They're just so brutal with it. It's like Tuscaloosa sucks. It's a terrible city. Like, it's not even a city, it's a town. And it's just this toxic, like I said, poison trees. I mean, that's the epitome of their fans. And they have this elitist mentality because they had Bear Bryant and now they got Nick Saban, and it's like, come on. Like,
yeah.
You got to respect their winning, but man, like they have this elitist, we recruit the best and we're so great, and it's terrible.
They take the religion aspect of it to the extremist part, and it's a little bit too much. But I think in all like college football, it's kind of like that. Like college sports has got that more than the pro leagues do.
And I would say especially Power 5, and especially you can go conference, say SEC, definitely has that mentality. But yeah, I think you can pick out certain schools, Bama, LSU.
I would say Duke is probably in
Duke
there.
for basketball,
North Carolina probably for basketball.
Kansas.
Too.
Kansas just those big, huge, storied programs.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I understand why these fan bases are the way they are, but I think that's for these fans to take a look at themselves and say, listen, like we need to represent our school or our team in a better light, in a better way, because you're making the program or just the organization look bad.
Yeah, I agree. You got any others on your list?
And my last one for me personally is the Dodgers.
Dodgers are.
Again, the whole LA vibe. Runner up would be the Los Angeles Kings as well, but like Dodgers to me just really bug me because they just want to push the whole Magic Johnson, and, he's the owner, and then every big player they get, they want to throw it in your face. It's like, you guys haven't won. You haven't won anything since '88 and Kirk Gibson. So to me, it's like, if you haven't won, you can't talk like you're contenders every single year.
Yeah.
And I love Clayton Kershaw. I really do. He's so fun to watch. He's a once in a generation player. And now they got Mookie. I like Mookie Betts, even though he was on the Red Sox, now he's on the Dodgers. But man, it's just this attitude of they want to talk about how they're contenders, but again, their fan base, I feel like, just wants to focus on their big name players.
I do remember when the Cardinals and Dodgers were going at it in NLCS I think it was 2011 when they won the series.
Yeah, they've gone back at a couple times.
Who was it on there? Was it Yasiel Puig or?
Yeah, and they had Matt Kemp.
Yeah, they were just inciting, just like trying to bait us and taunt us.
Right.
I think there was a fight that broke out. Benches cleared.
And that's the thing. Look at where there's all these beatings in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're seeing this at Dodger Stadium. I'm not seeing this at many other ballparks here. And I mean, to me, it's that kind of attitude where they have this. We're passionate about the game and our team, and it's like, I get it. They have good tradition, but when it gets to that point, I mean, it's been multiple times now where you're seeing bad incidents happen. Yeah.
There's some bad ones out there, and obviously not every sports fan base is going to be completely angelic, so to speak. There's always going to be a lot of passion, but
they're all annoying in their own way.
Sometimes mistook for I guess extremism, or
it just goes too far.
Yeah,
you take passion into an area you don't need it to get to.
Exactly. So those are our most insufferable sports teams. What are your guys' favorite or worst teams that you've come in contact with? What are the worst fan bases as well? Wanted to kind of move on to a little bit more of the toxicity in sports, and it kind of prevails into what my story was about social media as well. There's so many cases of like verbal abuse by fans towards players or other fans and supporters. I mean, people are getting death threats. There's verbal abuses. There's cursing. There's so much things going on. Cursing, I tell you. Just foul language.
like Lil B cursing people, or like cursing like swearing?
Like swearing.
Oh, okay. I don't want any curses.
Just like the worst like swear words and like
he cursed James Harden.
Yeah, just insults that you can put on. Like, maybe I've gone too far into like the deep dark thing of Twitter or social media as well.
Dark web.
You just click on any comment that's maybe like ESPN or I don't know, Fox Sports or anything, and you can see just the oozing toxicity of these fans or these people posting on this. And maybe they're just there to incite reactions. I think that's what they're all there for. But it's like, man, come on! Like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Because like the European soccer fan base, I would say, is probably one of the most toxic sports fan cultures in existence. Click on a post by ESPN FC or Goal.com or anybody. Just type in soccer or something, and you will see fans roasting each other for both the same fan base of the same team or any other, like just in the same league.
That's bad when you could type in the name of the sport and you'll see that.
You can see it everywhere. And it's like they have like a hate of like burning passion towards other fans or against like ex-players or opposing players. They just have this need to go out and just totally destroy them in social media. I don't know, what have you had any crazy experiences with irate fans on social media, or how do you think it's
other than Tim Legler?
That's true. Yeah, we did have a Twitter war with Tim Legler a few years back.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, no, not really. For me, I don't really tweet out my sports opinion. I'll retweet stuff and like stuff.
Do you just go on do you see like the comments on like ESPN tweets?
I try not to read that stuff just because it really bothers me when I see it. So I haven't, but I mean, I know it's there, but that's exactly why, because it just bothers me that this has become a part of sports. And I look to sports as an escape and as just fun and as, friendly rivalry, I guess you could say. And like I said, Virginia Commonwealth University, hate the school, hate the fans. But like I said, when I say hate, it's out of I don't really hate them. They bug me. I like to get in, arguments with them if I ever run into them. I'm talking about VCU basketball here, and I'm not talking about any other VCU sports because they're irrelevant. U of A, University of Arizona, same thing. But like I can acknowledge though when these teams are good, and I can see why they have fans and that sort of thing. But no, it's all friendly banter for me, and I want to keep it that way. I'm never going to get to a point and say like, oh, they're trash people, they're terrible, they're this and that, because you got to separate that. You got to realize why you're rooting for the sport. And that's where I want to get into the change and how we can combat this, because I think this is up to the schools and the teams to say, all right, guys, here's why we have these traditions. Here's where they started. This is why we're keeping them around. You got to remember these traditions are around to preserve the history and to show, just keep people remembering old players or old events or whatever, and just keep the fun around. They're for fun.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where more education needs to be done, because a lot of these people are blindly following these traditions or following these rivalries, and they don't understand why. And I think once they understand why, it'll help in reminding them of, okay, this is for fun.
While you were giving your thoughts
spiel
there, I was looking on Twitter and trying to find an example of everything. So Real Madrid just won their 34th La Liga title in Spain. And they have one of the most successful coaches in 5-year tenure and everything. Yeah. And some of the comments are, let's see, they're not that hard when you have Yankee money, because they're super rich and everything. Overrated as hell. And then somebody else was responding, says the fan who supports Arsenal, so on and so forth.
See, it's just stuff like that. Why do you need to go and look at the guy's profile and rip on it? Because I get it. If you're going to be overrated, whatever, that's fun,
Yeah.
But when you're starting these arguments, that's too far. You don't need to be starting arguments with people based on who they're rooting for and just things like that.
A lot of them are because the refs helped them win. There's a meme of the refs having Real Madrid having the refs bet in their back pocket.
See, that stuff's funny though. And
some of them is funny,
fun.
But
I just think we need to get away from the whole oh, Will, you're a VCU fan, I'm a SLU fan. I
There's
hate
not
you,
one...
and you're not a real fan, and I'm going to personally attack you. That's stupid.
There's not one positive comment to be wow, great job, or truly the best this year, anything. It's all just totally discrediting any kind of thing that they can get.
There's always got to be an excuse.
Win or
but then if their other team would have won, then
exactly.
Of course, they would have been well-deserved.
So I found this story, too, as an example of a player getting destroyed in the comments on social media. So it was Baylor's basketball, Macau, I hope I'm saying this right, Macau Teague. I think this was a couple of years ago.
Macau?
M-A-C-I-O.
M-A-C-I-O,
maybe? I don't know. But he was playing for Kansas State. He had some harassment after their recent win.
Is Baylor playing against Kansas State?
Yeah, so Baylor's basketball
played much of a rivalry.
Kansas State. But Teague played well. He had 15 points, a couple rebounds, a couple assists. So he had a decent night and everything.
Yeah.
But he missed 2 free throws near the end of the game, which prevented Baylor from covering the 6.5-point spread. And he received over 20 messages and death threats from strangers on Twitter and Instagram saying, you missed the last 2 buckets, you didn't cover the spread. People were even asking him to Venmo these people. I like my money for my ticket back and everything, and my money to cover the spread that you intentionally missed. And somebody actually reported once, he's how much did you get paid to throw that game? You shoot 85% and you miss both? The line was 6.5. Come on, bro. Think about all the people who have money on the game. And he's I didn't even know what the spread was. That's really not my thinking.
And that's the thing, too. I think, with sports betting, that it's cool. It's becoming more of the norm, but I think the bad part is people are more focused on winning money and betting and less on rooting for your team and watching the sport at the end of the day.
Yeah. Can you imagine getting a death threat or a terrible insulting message
horrible.
for having a good night, winning the game, but not covering an $11 difference or something.
I always think about Bill Buckner when he the ball went between his legs.
Can you imagine if
you got to live with that
today?
The rest of your life?
Yeah,
people, that's your identity because of that one play that you screwed up on, which may or may not have even really been your fault. It's just it's so sad. Or even as a fan, Steve Bartman, the Cubs fan who supposedly got in the way of the ball. Just cases like that where it's just that becomes your identity, and so many people are attacking you.
That I remember.
It's a great documentary, by the way.
About that. He got destroyed. He
watch Catching Hell on.
Did he have to
ESPN.
Change his name or something?
Yeah, he's in witness protection for it.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's so sad. That's truly sad, and that's not the point of sports. That's not the point. It's so bad that is a possibility that we live in, and I think that's where I'm saying it's up to these teams to change this culture. It starts with the teams and the league, for that matter. But I think it'll hit more for home for these people. Right. If I'm a irate Cubs fan, if the Cubs come out and do work to protect the players, protect the fans, and just bridge these gaps and start. Another thing, delete the comments off social media. If you see these arguments stemming on your social media pages, get that off. Monitor these pages. Make sure these debates are fine. I get it. It's fun. But these attacks, though, get those off of there right away. I mean, because it's just the teams need to step up, and they really need to control this culture because they're the ones who can influence the fans. And put
I agree with that. And getting into what we'd like to see change too. I mean, I like to see more of a control on the social media with it. Get rid of the horribly racist or negative quotes or tweets. And
because half the time it's not even
stuff.
Really fan stuff. It's people getting a reaction.
People remove the threatening comments and everything. I don't know if you said this. League should have more communication directly with fans. Ensure that the hate is taken out and the more
I think the league can do it as a whole, but I would start with individual teams because you can hit closer to home.
What about for colleges or universities then?
So that was another one of my ideas. Is I think colleges especially need to do workshops, and the colleges already do workshops for things like sexual assault awareness or alcohol awareness, whatever you call it. Do stuff with the student sections, with alumni, do workshops and teach them about the rivalries, but also make sure you're pushing that, hey, this is for fun. This is a fun rivalry. It's historic. This is why we do it. This is why we have it. But zero tolerance. You're not going to go and cuss out another fan at the stadium, or you're not going to carry yourself a certain way, and we're going to kick you out right away, and you're never coming back.
I would agree with that.
And I'm not saying make policy. It no fun, because some of that passion is super fun. And that's why I think college sports is a lot of fun, because you have that passion there. You have those intense rivalries, but there's a difference between intense and between destructive. And I think it's up to the universities to say, hey, whoa, we don't act like that. We don't, travel to games and do certain actions. We don't do that. This is the reasoning behind why we have these rivalries. And with that education, I think will come, just more thought behind why you're cheering the way you're cheering, and behind, why you'll root against a team and the limit of what you'll take it to.
I think those are great changes. And I think the education, why you're supporting a team would help you understand as to why there's rivalries, but also understand just knowing a little bit more about the game and how it's run and how the players run and everything, because players have to deal with this as well. They get tons of terrible comments on social media, it affects their mindset, and it's going to make them play just a little bit worse. Just the things
I've heard, being at an event, what I've heard, grown adults yelling at another adult or sometimes a kid, the things they yell at them, it's are you kidding me, man?
Yeah, the sports hecklers in the crowd and everything.
I get it when it's funny and haha,
jokes and everything.
Like when Tony Parker got it for Eva Longoria or things like that. It's funny, but when you're getting personal,
F you ref, or
just even way worse, racist stuff, just really demeaning stuff. Come on, that's not being a fan. That's not doing anything, you know.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think a lot of it is trying to get a reaction, but I think it's on the teams to really monitor that, because especially college kids, if they hear that, I mean, that mentally, that's so tough.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, we both worked in sports, and
Yeah.
I've been in the crowd sometimes, or just kind of observing, and there's been instances of fans saying some inappropriate language and other people turning to them and saying, hey, I don't appreciate that, or hey, you should watch your mouth. And stewards will come over and say that. And just the sheer reaction of them thinking that they've done literally nothing wrong, not acknowledging that they might have said something inappropriate, and saying, well, you shouldn't tell me what to say. I could say whatever I want. And I've had to go over to a couple of times and be like, oh, you know, we have a policy of, you know, no swearing or, you know, inappropriate language or so on and so forth, and
no cursing,
no
swearing
cursing.
or real cursing.
Exactly. No nothing, no shenanigans, no hoodlums, no nothing like that. And they just flip out, and I think they kind of let the emotion take over, and they truly believe that they've done nothing wrong, or they've
just rooting for my team.
Yeah, and then I don't know, it's just that kind of like that mentality within the sports culture needs to be eradicated.
And the whole throwing stuff on the field, or
that's ridiculous
that's horrible.
too. Yeah, like throwing trash, or beer bottles and hot dog stuff.
It makes me sick when it's a team I root for. Of course, biased. You know, I rarely does that happen. I'm not a Phillies fan, but like when they do that, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to, especially when I'm at the game. I want to like take the jersey off that I'm wearing. You know, it's just I don't want to be associated with that.
Because I think when you're a fan of a sports team, it's more than just the sport that you support and what that team represents. For me, it's like that crest on that symbol on your chest or on your arm or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it represents more than just a sports team. It represents the ability to set a good example and to lead and to emblemize, I guess, a positive and like entertaining type of thing.
Well, and yeah, don't you want to represent your team?
Yeah, and and like to have a fan of the team that you support act in a way, or multiple fans do what they do, that's really bad. Really puts a bad taste in your mouth, and you're like, well, that's not what we represent the team as, or how I see it as, and that's what makes an insufferable team then, or an insufferable fan base.
Yeah, and I think it's the fan bases that want to own it. You know, they want to own
They're proud of it. Yeah,
they're proud that they'll boo their own players. They're proud that they'll throw things on the field. They're proud. You know, they kind of see it as like, oh, we're the tough fan base, or you got to have thick skin to play here. You know, I just think, like I said before, look what you're doing to your own players. A lot of these teams that have fan bases like that, players don't want to play there because unless they're from the city, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, if I screw up, like, come on, this job, especially pro sports, this job's pressure enough. I mean, you see kids transfer at the college level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because,
all the time.
Yeah, they can't handle it and they don't want to deal with it.
Exactly.
So I don't blame them.
I wouldn't blame them either. So, but we want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. You know, if you like what we talked about in this episode, or we want to continue the conversation afterwards, hit us up on Twitter. We're on YouTube, all the social medias. Let us know what your thoughts are as well.
Tell us why we're wrong for our sports fan bases.
What's your list of the most insufferable sports fans? Which sport has the most toxic fan base? And how do you feel about social media and sports? Is it positive or negative in your reaction, or your opinion, I should say? Follow us on Twitter. We're at Weekendology Pod. You can follow Weekendology Sports at Weekendology Sports. WKNDOLOGY and follow Weekendology Entertainment at Weekendology ENT. Don't forget to follow our YouTube and Facebook page. Just search Weekendology Podcast. And stay tuned to all of our social media for the best content as we roll out the latest and greatest from around the pop culture and the sports world. Don't forget to follow our last episode on Apple Podcasts, where we talk about how college sports can return post-pandemic. We're on a sports-themed, I guess, last couple weeks here, so maybe we'll throw in a non-sports
boost in
episode.
Weekendology sports.
Exactly. But there's been a lot of sports news recently with live sports coming back, so we figure we might as well talk about what's popular and what's trending, I guess. So
we need them. We need them back.
We need them back.
Get Nancy.
Yeah. Don't forget to check out the Big Red World. They're on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Lionfish, at www.lionfishpromotions.com. Use that code WEEKEND for 10% off of your first purchase. Do you have any closing remarks or anything before we sign off here, Aaron?
Who's the best fan base?
Ooh, the best fan base. That could be a great follow-up episode.
So your opinion, your number one, all sports, number one fan base.
Wow.
I'm going to say... Okay, well, I'll let you say, but I'm gonna.
Man, that's tough.
If you say who I think you're gonna say, that I'm gonna.
It's definitely not Manchester United.
Okay,
so
all right.
No, I'm very much not a unbiased supporter. So like, I recognize the faults in our fan base.
Good, good, proud of you.
I don't know. I have to actually defer to
it's
next
tough.
episode whenever we do that, because I'd have to really think about that. So, who's the best fan base in your opinion?
I think I would have to think about it too. I would have to go with someone who is a winner. You know what? I'm going to say... This is totally right now. I'm probably going to change this answer as I think about it more. But just immediately, I'm going to say the Washington Nationals really impressed me with... They have a very good team. They have a great team, great players. The way they treated Bryce Harper when he left, at least from what I saw, maybe I'm ignorant, but they didn't just tear him to shreds when he left.
Right.
They just accepted it, moved on. And then when they won the World Series, they did a great job of celebrating properly, but they didn't throw it in your face, say, haha, we're the champs, we're the best. They won graciously, and I really appreciated that.
That's a good one, yeah.
So I'm going to say them for now, but if you ask me next week, that probably will change.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that one.
I'm probably going to go on Twitter and see a bunch of stuff and be like, oh, no, they suck.
I'd have to think about the most wholesome type of, I guess, fan base or people who are just super, super nice.
It's tough.
That would be tough. I think that's more biased than...
Because you got to find one, too, that... Because, I mean, I would love to say, like, ASU, but ASU doesn't have that full support. They don't sell out every game. They don't have... they're missing that full passion, so I think that makes the fan base go down. I think you got to find that best of both worlds of passion. People really love the team. They know the players. They know the history, all that, but also they're not going to throw it in your face when they win. They're not going to be sore losers when they lose. It's just that full circle, which maybe no one has.
That would be tough. Yeah. Tweet at us who is the best fan base as well, and who is the worst fan base too. We want to hear from you guys as well. We're on Apple Podcasts. Check us out. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts. We've got new episodes every Friday. So until then, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys next time.